Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's event sponsored by MSP360. Today, we're talking about I Hate You Marketing, but Let's Be Friends. I love that title, David. So what we have for you today is a lot of incredible information about marketing. And what I'm going to do right now is turn it over to David Gugick with MSP360. David, you are the VP of Product Management. That's kind of a long title.
So
That's a tongue twister.
I do. So I am going to be your host today. And, and as you probably could tell from the title, I do these days, I used to do software development and data relational database design and programming. And now I've sort of transitioned over the last decade or so, mostly into product management. So you might be wondering why I am the one to talk to you about marketing. And I think that's a great question. I did personally struggle with marketing when I ran my own business about 15 years ago. And I figured out how to do it. Well, of course, that immediately revealed a new problem for me, which was kind of working the sales funnel properly. But I kind of got my handle around the marketing side. But for the last 15 years or so, I've worked with great marketing people. And I work with a great marketing team now at MSP360, and we speak to MSPs all the time about what they're doing on their marketing. And we also write some, free content for MSPs about marketing, and I'll tell you all about that later. But I didn't feel right being the only one here, so that's why we looked for one of our, MSP friends out there. And so today we have Nina Lipscombe, who's the business development manager over at County Micro. She's up in northern Maine, if I remember correctly. Is that right, Nina?
Right, that's right. We're just like 5 miles from the Canadian border.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there still snow up there?
We actually got snow the day after Easter, like 3 inches of snow, which was
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
And then it all melted. So
That's yeah, we're finally warming up here. I'm in the Wilmington, Delaware area, but Nina's here because she runs an MSP and she wears many hats. You can see she's a business development manager, but she's also in charge of the marketing efforts over at County Micro. And I wanted her here today to share her experiences with everyone about what's working for her MSP. Now, your mileage may vary, and there are going to be a few slides here that are bullet heavy, and I hate that because I prefer to have a conversation about marketing. The problem is that a lot of different MSPs out there, a lot of different target markets you're working with, and things that work for one may not necessarily work for all of you. And so there's going to be a few lists out there of options that you have. We hope you leave less confused, but even if you are more confused, we're going to hopefully provide you with some information to follow up on and get less confused. We know marketing is tough to get your hands around. So please make this interactive. I think we have people stream. I think we're live streaming on Facebook as well as Zoom. Is that right, Dan? And
That's
so if you
correct.
have questions, throw them in the chat. Dan's going to be watching it or the Q&A wherever they go and whatever platform you're on. We're happy to be interrupted with questions. Tell us what's working for you on the marketing side, really, what isn't, and why. If you want to throw that into the Q&A, we can share that all that information with everyone. So with that, let's get started on I'm clicking the wrong computer here. So let's get started. Hello. Okay. What can marketing do for you? Well, it may be a simple question, and the answer might be pretty obvious, but we do get a lot of responses when we ask this question to MSPs, or we even ask it of ourselves internally when we're talking about really what we should be doing. So, of course, brand awareness comes up. Is it about brand awareness? Well, that's great, but can you measure brand awareness on its own? Probably not. But brand awareness is good. I don't know if anybody remembers back in the 90s or 2000s, BASF had their chemical company, and while they sold some products, for those of us that remember video cassettes and stuff like that, back in the day, they had these great commercials back in the 90s or 2000s that we don't make a lot of the products you buy, but we make a lot of the products you buy better. For a company like that, who's just making products that are used in a business to business capacity, that is brand awareness is probably mostly what they have to worry about. But with us, it's not just that. Is it showing off your expertise? Sure. We all want to seem like we're experts in the business of managed services, so that's true. Is it showing off your people? Probably. You have a lot of experience, a lot of years under a hat, people, with whatever certifications or coming from industries that are important. That's great too. It's about keeping your customers happy. Well, it's about that too, right? Just because you have a customer doesn't mean you won't be marketing anymore to them. You want to keep them happy. But the real answer is about accelerating the sales process. You are looking to attract new prospects to your business, and you want to make sure you're providing, and I think in a kind of subtle way, that the information that they need, so they're predisposed to doing business with you. So you also want to make sure you speak their language. We'll talk about communication a little later on. You don't want to wait for your customers, right? That was something that I struggled with a long time ago. Marketing will bring customers to you. You need to go get them. If you're lucky, if you're really lucky, and if you have an established MSP, you may be in a position where, there's referrals coming in, and that's enough to sustain your business. And you know what? Great for you. More likely than not, though, there was probably some marketing back in the day that got you the start. So as a marketing person out there, Robin Robbins, probably many of you know, I didn't want to quote her without giving her credit. What she has said on many of her, webcasts and presentations is, no one knows how good you are before the sale. They only know how good your marketing is. So when you get that lead coming in, work it, make them a customer, and do the things that you need to do that we'll talk about on the following slides to kind of help you close that deal. So the next thing is knowing your target market. So how do you accelerate the sales process? So the way you do that really is by understanding the markets that you're working with, and you'll need to know those markets well. And you may be targeting more than one market. It's not unusual to be targeting, as you'll hear from Nina, medical as well as legal or accounting or small business. If you're targeting, more than one market, then you're going to need to learn each of those markets equally well, because you are not going to, more likely than not, mix your marketing campaigns. If you're marketing to dental offices, you're going to probably have a campaign for them versus, say, law firms or residential. The things you say and the language you speak is going to be different for each of them. It will also help you do really important things like figure out how to build your services portfolio. The types of customers you work with are going to mean that you're going to need to have certain services offered to them so they can meet the needs of, their business. If it's a medical office, if they have HIPAA compliance or other compliance needs, if they have retention requirements, all that good stuff. Also, the vendors and the technologies that you specialize in may be driven by the types of customers you're working with. If you need, if you're working with companies that need document discovery, then you're going to need to become experts in document discovery and getting those services in place for those customers. Also, your customer service and support requirements. So you're going to need to know, whether or not you're going to need 24/7 support. You're going to need to understand things like the RPOs and RTOs. These are things we talk about more on the backup side of the business, or when it comes to backup services. But the restore point objectives, how much data can those customers, realistically lose before it becomes a problem for them? Restore time objectives. How quickly do you have to get those particular customers up and running before it impacts their biggest business in such a negative way? And knowing those things may drive you to different products, which is why you need to understand your customers in order to pick the right services. But it's also going to help things like hiring the right staff and, you go to market strategy and all that good stuff. So once you understand your target market, my recommendation is to sit down if you haven't already done it. More likely than not, you have. It also should be something that you do, say, on an annual basis, because markets change, compliance requirements do change. So sit down and identify, say, the top 5 or so goals of your target audience. Find out the things that, the opportunities and the challenges and the things that they're struggling with, so you can best address them in your marketing material when you're going after them. So we have Nina here, since I've been babbling for a few minutes. And I just wanted to ask Nina, what target markets does County Micro work with, and kind of how have you used those markets to help use those markets and your material to help accelerate, your sales process?
So we do dabble in quite a lot, but our main target right now is actually the healthcare industry. We specialize in HIPAA compliance. So a lot of our clients here, we've actually acquired by doing phone installations with Weave. And so we get a lot of veterinarians and a lot of dental offices. And so oftentimes we go there to do a phone installation, then we actually pitch IT services, managed IT to them.
So when you mention HIPAA compliance to your medical customers, are they keenly aware, or is that?
A lot of them think that they're aware. I'll just say that.
Right.
Until we actually see, we're actually in the back of their offices looking at everything, and we can see, their network, and we can see, little passwords sitting on their desktops, so we kind of point out these small details, and we say, look, we can give you an assessment, we can help you with this. Let's set it up. And so a lot of the times they're more receptive when we actually start pointing out things that could be improved upon versus just doing that hard sell.
Right. I think you mentioned to me on a previous call that, when you get a response to some marketing material and you see like something like a Gmail or Hotmail address, that is a key indicator that this is a prospect that probably needs the help of managed services.
Absolutely. It's a very, we actually had someone working with us doing sales calls, and they would get the email addresses. I said, it doesn't matter what else you do, just make sure you get that email address in the end, even if they say we have IT, we're not interested. And that way we can just go ahead and do the email marketing to them. And so a lot of times, they'll have a Gmail, a Hotmail. I don't know if you guys remember Roadrunner, but it's still around.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, I had no idea Roadrunner was big in New York City when I was there in the 90s.
It's still in Maine, apparently. So.
Yeah, I had no idea they were still around. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Blast from the past.
Dan, did you want to add something?
No, I just said it, just a blast from the past with that name, hearing that name.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I had Roadrunner. I hate to mention it. Probably could see the gray hair. I'm pretty sure I had Roadrunner dial-up in the early 90s, one of the first dial-up ISPs out of New York with my 2400 baud modem. Maybe it was 56K. I don't remember. Anyway, so this is the slide I'm least proud of. It's an important slide, but I really hate bullet slides. So I'll just say that there are a lot of ways to do your marketing. This is not a definitive list. This is just a bigger list that I'd like to put in a slide deck. I can tell you on the MSP360 side, we do a lot of content marketing. We do a lot of webinars and conferences. We do some social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, even some Facebook and Twitter. We also get great value with our business from organic search. So we dabble in most areas, but we sell software services to MSPs. We're not MSPs ourselves. So marketing for us is not likely to be the same as it is for you. And I imagine that different MSPs dealing with different target audiences, government versus, commercial business, education versus residential, you're going to find that there are different ways that let you attack your target audience and find them. So your mileage may vary. I know I've said that before. So this is just a list of the kind of things that you can look to consider. So content marketing is, we'll talk a little bit more about content marketing. This is just making things that, your potential prospects will want to download or look at. But things like referrals, that's great. You sort of have to be established to get referrals, but don't be shy about working with your best customers, trying to get them to refer other customers, happy customers. And we'll talk more about this later on. Happy customers like to refer, like to talk about what they're happy with. Search engine optimization, SEO. So it's important to get your SEO right. So if there is organic search, if somebody's looking for managed services or IT services or whatever it is, make sure your website is designed in such a way that you are exposing the metadata on your website in such a way that the search engines can properly index you and show you as a result when people look for the things that you do. Social media, we talked a little bit about what options that are there. LinkedIn's great because you can post like blogs. Having a Facebook group for your business is also great. Probably better to use a business page rather than a personal page, but you can post content there. You can cross post content, to all the social media sites as well as your website. That way, if you do have consumers or you're doing Facebook targeted advertising, they can find you on Facebook as well, and they don't have to have a LinkedIn account, which they may not have. Things like pay-per-click, where you're paying for things like AdWords through somebody like Google, direct mail, email, if you're getting lists of potential prospects, strategic partners that you have out there that you can work with, as well as ads in trade publications. That's something that I did back in the day. Are there too many trade publications being printed anymore? Probably not too many, although some. I do see them at the MSP shows occasionally. So they're still
Northern
there,
Maine,
but
David.
certainly they are.
Oh yeah, Northern Maine still has a little bit.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I still get a few magazines, mostly like things like Car and Driver. So it's a different market, but a lot of the computer stuff has gone the way of digital. Not surprising.
Right.
But there are certain print trade magazines out there, and there might be stuff specifically targeting your industry, which might give you an opportunity to advertise in. Networking events are great. If you want to network, it's what I like about the MSP community is that it's a pretty open community. MSPs like to hang out together and share ideas and share, things that are working and things that aren't working. I see it all the time on the Facebook groups in particular. What are you using for this? What kind of service are you using for that? And there are people that are happy and people that complain, but it's the openness of the sharing that I particularly like about the MSP community. Community that I'll just point out, I had no idea was as big as it was 4 years ago when I joined MSP360. The amount of money, the mergers and acquisitions, the venture capital, the size of some of these MSPs just kind of blows me away how big the MSP market is and the opportunities that exist for everybody. And that's a part of it. You can also do things like, seminars, webinars, virtual events, and press releases. So those are a lot of the things. I wanted to ask Nina kind of what you're using at County Micro, kind of what's working for you, and if you've used any that aren't working or didn't work in the past, if you would share that with everyone.
Yeah, actually, when you mentioned that it's not quite the same business for MSP and MSP360, I actually got the idea of the content landing pages from you guys. I'm a reconversion for you guys over and over again. I download your stuff all the time. So
it's good to know.
Probably see my name a lot on there if you look at it. But yeah, so when I looked at that, I started making our own landing pages specifically for the healthcare industry once again. So we would actually make checklist or white papers so they can download the form. And then we can actually do email marketing from that form. So that's been a huge way to convert new people into using our services, which has been great. I think what you were saying about happy customers is very true. Some of my best sellers are actually customers. They go on social media and they'll like everything and they'll share everything and they'll talk. I mean, we get mostly referrals from people here. They'll come, oh, they did a great job. Our Wi-Fi has never been better. You got to use these guys. So, little things like that.
That's the best. That's the least costly way to sell.
Yeah.
And probably the best for maintaining long-term relationships with your customers. And it's something that you have to work really hard to get to, right? Yeah. And work hard to maintain. So, but having advocates. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to jump in. I want to reiterate what Nina said about the materials that MSP360 makes available. It's an incredible amount of content. We are talking, hundreds of hours of creative talent gone into producing these, and they're very nice looking. They're very well thought out. And you would pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do all this yourself. And, as a MSP360 partner, you make those available, and that's awesome. So just wanted to reiterate.
I will let the marketing team know. I'm glad to know people are getting value out of it. And I'll have a list for everyone later on about the kind of things we have related to marketing and where you can go just to download everything if you're interested. So what Nina said kind of brings us into our next slide, which is really kind of about thought leadership and the content around thought leadership. And so what is that really? That's the content that you're going to create in whatever form it exists in, that conveys to your prospects that you not only understand the complexities and the issues that they're dealing with, but you can help alleviate those pains. We hear the word pain a lot, and I hear the word pain selling and pain marketing, not because of the MSP market, but just around selling software. It's something that I got introduced to about 15 years ago when I sold that previous business that I was mentioning, and when venture capital came in and they were bundling me up with other products and building the sales teams, they were putting all the sales reps through something called Sandler training. It's really about pain selling. It's about understanding the issues that your customers are dealing with, say, like in Nina's case, HIPAA compliance or lack of compliance possibly. And that you understand they have these complexities, which shows that you understand the issues they're dealing with, and that you position yourselves as leaders who can help address these concerns. And that's really important. So, what kind of things do you have available to you that you can do? Well, any kind of presentation you have, whether it's a presentation or any kind of material, should educate your prospects about what to look for when buying IAT services. The whole pain marketing part is great because it allows you to say things like, download a free report, do this to help yourself with an issue that you may be struggling with, whether that's HIPAA compliance or, document discovery or protecting all of your, employees from security concerns, whatever it may be, whatever is targeted for that particular target market or general IT concerns that your customers may have. It allows you to talk about that kind of stuff. The kinds of things you can do are like what Nina talked about, which are things like, say IT assessments, free IT assessments. Come join us for, sign up for a free IT assessment, HIPAA compliance assessment, maybe a dark web scan, a backup assessment, so we can assess how you're doing things today and whether or not that what you're doing is going to meet your requirements for the customers that you're dealing with and the business at hand. So there's a lot of things you can do. We talked all about some of them on the previous slide, white papers that educate, surveys, ebooks, videos, webinars. I think you kind of addressed this already, Nina. Did you mention the HIPAA compliance checklist?
Yeah, so that's
already?
actually been our most recent marketing thing, I guess, because I started doing the white papers and I thought that's great, but no one's going to actually read all of this. It's a lot of information that they're going to find kind of boring, or they think they already know about. So if you give them a resource they can actually use, like, here, print this out and go through the checklist. And then they start realizing on their own, wow, I don't have that. Or I don't even understand what this is. I didn't realize that was a problem, little things like, service agreements, like they don't realize that all of these things matter. And so when you show that you're an expert in this and that you can help protect them from problems that may occur in the future, or, getting a big fine or even closing down, these kinds of things start building up over time and they start trusting you as a provider. And so they're going to remember that. Even if it doesn't convert right away, they're going to come back and say, hey, those guys have good material. They really know what they're talking about. And they'll think about you when they actually do need someone to help them.
I kind of want to skip a slide right now to get to what you're talking about, because you're kind of reading my mind right now about the, the content I wrote on these slides. But I'll just do this one because this is a very quick slide and it advertises County Micro, because I thought that was important, because I thought you did it exactly the way that is recommended, which is, what does every marketing campaign need? Really needs two things. One, a call to action. This is the message that you want to generate a response from any potential customers. So things like, get a free assessment, learn more, call now, find out how to do this, download today. And that link to do more, which you can see in that example from County Micro on the, I think that's your HIPAA compliance, book a free IT HIPAA compliance assessment, is the landing page. So every one of your campaigns should go to a landing page. And that landing page should be, say that again, Nina?
I was going to say, or multiple. I mean, the more landing pages that you have, I try to make a habit of making lots of different landing pages for different little sections. It just helps with SEO.
All right, that's good to know. So even if you have multiple landing pages, even for the same target customer,
Right.
they may find it through SEO. That's a good idea. You're definitely going to want different landing pages for different target customers. You don't want to mix and match. You want to make sure whatever material is on that landing page targets that audience specifically, right? You've spent money to get them there, right? We're not going to talk about costs and, acquisition costs and all that kind of stuff in this webinar, but you've spent a lot of time and money creating the content and marketing to people to get them to your website. When you get them there, you want them to read the exact information that they're going to need to have in order to sign up or download or, request whatever they need for more information. And that is where the landing page comes in. So what you were talking about, Nina, though, is this next thing. I'm borrowing some things from a movie here that probably most people have seen, but it's kind of one of my favorite kind of small movies from the late 90s. So I just call this, let prospects convince themselves, the Zero Effect. So Zero Effect was a movie that came out, I think, in around 98 with Bill Pullman in it, and he played an unusual private investigator who I guess you could say solves impossible crimes. And he does it in a very unique way. And there was a quote from it that I kind of have on the right, which is helping to solve a problem first by observation and then careful intervention, which he just calls the Zero Effect. So it's that light touch. So it's about your collateral and the conversations and working your prospects kind of gently through the sales process by giving them all that digital information that they need in an effort to persuade themselves. This is what Nina said earlier. You want your prospects to kind of talk themselves into your MSP as being a great fit for them, because customers who talk themselves into things tend to be stickier, right? And because they're stickier and they've made this conscious decision on their own, I feel like I'm talking about Inception right now, the movie. I guess we could use that as an example. They tend to have a higher tolerance for things like short-term frustrations. So if they come to the understanding and the decision to use an MSP on their own, that's great. It's going to be harder they're going to want to leave less. They're going to be there. However, if you drag them through the sales process and you're persuading them predominantly through conversations with account managers and salespeople, you may find that your prospects have a lower tolerance, even if they sign up to these same short-term frustrations, and they may very well likely end up being a part of your attrition number. And we know that short-term frustrations are a pretty common thing, especially in that first year while the relationship is new. And not everything might be working perfectly. You want to make sure that your customers are there and that they are making these decisions on their own to come to you, and you're just kind of gently steering them along the way. The idea is that your happy customers will advocate, like Nina said earlier. County Micro gets a ton of new customers, excuse me, from existing ones who are very happy with their services. Because they see the value. And once you see the value, you're likely to stick around. I mean, I know what my shopping experience is like, even when it comes to things like electronics. I probably overanalyze the reviews when I'm looking for stereo equipment or a new television. And it's very unlikely that when I get home, I'm going to be very unhappy with my purchase, because I feel like I put in the time, I made the commitment to a manufacturer. I think it's the same thing with buying anything, including IT services. So let me just ask you, Nina, what do you do, if anything, with your existing customers to keep them happy? I know this is a loaded question because I know you and I already talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah. So we usually try to keep, we do the email marketing thing with them, but in a slightly different way. We make sure that we're still sending those white papers or, things that they could use every day in their business to kind of say, hey, we're still here. Like, remember us, we're doing your IT, but we try to make sure that we're always in front of them. Another huge thing, and this is like, I live by this, but I think this is so important for every MSP, is give your customers a report, like a monthly report or a quarterly report, and say, hey, look, this is the things that we've done for you this month or this half of the year, or whatever. we protected you from this many attacks, or we saved you this much money, whatever it is. Like, to give those customers a report lets them see that value once again that you're adding to their business, so that when some other IT guy comes in there or MSP comes over and says, hey, what about us? We do way better than those guys. And they're like, no, we're doing good with our guys. We can see what they're doing for us every month, and they're happy with that.
Yeah,
If I could
that
throw
makes
out a
sense.
couple
I know I
things.
tell, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to go back to one thing about referrals. I think one of the things that we often miss is asking for the referrals. We can hope that the client is going to, pass your name along, but planting the seed will go a long ways, because then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I guess I never thought about that. You know what? I will keep that in mind. One last thing, when you talked about, saying, hey, we're still here, we implemented what we called a mid-month call, a mid-month touch. And basically what we would do is reach out in the middle of the month to the liaison and just check in, see how things are going. And I tell you what, and the reason why we did this is because, we do such a good job being proactive with our technology that, we're not always having to talk, right? So if you're doing a good job, you're not always having those touches. And so what's amazing though, is when you make those calls, just checking in, all of a sudden they'll be like, hey, you know what? We were just at a conference and I learned about this. And is that something that you guys could help us with? Bam, there's new project work. There's money on the table. And so just never underestimate the value of just checking in, because it can turn into business.
You make a good point there too, because we actually had a client that we acquired that had an IT person. He was pretty much retired, and their network was absolutely a disaster. But they were really happy with him because he showed up every week. They had a problem. He's like, I'm here to fix it. He fixed it, showed up the next week with a new problem, fixed that. And, he has that relationship with them. So he's always in front of them, maybe not for the right reasons. Things aren't being fixed for a reason, but once again, he has that really tight relationship with them. And at first they were like, no, we're really happy with him. He's been around forever. He's a local. And then we started, once again, adding that value, saying, look, we can save you this much money doing this, or just giving them those white papers or checklists over time. And then they started saying, hey, you know what? Like, maybe we should consider these guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's the good and bad of like services. I often tell customers and prospects while I'm, demoing our software for them that, backup services, if they're working right, are really a set it and forget it type thing. You'll onboard a new customer, add some endpoints and servers, and then the backups are running and you never see it again. That's true of managed services. Unless you have ongoing project work, you might find that, the customer is buying, say, remote monitoring and management, security software, backup services, whatever they need to keep their IT environment up and running. And if it's up and running and there are no issues, there may be very little contact. So having something like a monthly, hey, it's like I get from Nest, right? My Nest thermostat sends me a monthly update. This is how many, BTUs you use this month, or how much electric you use, whatever. And this is how much you used last month. And this is why maybe it happened. And it's really just a reminder that, hey, you're using a Nest and we hope it's helping you, and here's some information about it. So
Right.
always a good idea to keep in contact. Last thing you want to do is lose a relationship because you've kind of been avoiding the customer, not on purpose, but because there hasn't been any reason to proactively
remind them why they're paying you every month.
Right.
Exactly.
But also, you make a good point with software, because another thing that we try to do with our clients is we look for new things that they can use, or new things that might help them save money. So, like we work with a transportation place here in Aroostook County, and they're currently using a really old software to kind of track their drivers and get payments for their drivers. And we said, look, you can save a lot more money and time and frustration if you switch to this software. Sometimes we even develop the software, but it just depends on the situation, just to help them out. And once again, stay in their face and say, hey, we're still here and we're thinking about you, and we thought this would really help you out.
Good point. Thank Nina. So I had a whole slide here on marketing automation. And honestly, I do not know what happened to it. It went MIA. So I'm going to go back and just stay on this slide for a second and just mention my notes about marketing automation, what it is and why it might be really important for you. Marketing automation is about providing you, the MSP, the metrics that you need to really understand. I call it understand the state of the union, really, around your marketing campaigns. Because if you don't have a good understanding of your metrics, then you'll never know what's working for your prospects and what's not really working for you. So without this iterative process of designing the campaign, evaluating the quality of the campaign, and improving on it, your marketing is less likely to achieve the heights that it can, and your business may suffer. So you need to understand what web pages your prospects are clicking on, what media files, if any, they've downloaded, any forms they've submitted for things like white papers, emails that you've sent them that they've opened and actually clicked on something. The kind of things we all hate to know that's going on in our personal life. Why, when I clicked on those coasters at Pottery Barn, do I get emails every day saying, hey, you seem to like coasters. Here are some other coasters that you might enjoy. Yeah, we hate them, but I sort of like them because they're sort of, it's, direct advertising. It's targeted advertising. They have an understanding about things I might be interested in, and they're showing me, which I prefer. So even things like social media posts that they've clicked on that brought them to your website, or even how long they're spending on your website. So I don't know how you do all that. So I'm just going to ask Nina what they do at Accounting Micro to kind of manage your marketing automation.
Actually, I think someone just asked about this too. So what we use is Hubspot, and Hubspot's actually a little bit pricey if you're not, if you're just starting up. I think we actually got a startup discount, which is why we use it. But it is amazing. And if you find something that's kind of like HubSpot, go for it, because it'll do all of your email campaigns. You can make workflows to say, hey, if they click on this, send out this email. If they click on this, send out this email. And it tracks everything. Literally everything that you can think of. There's like hundreds of reports that it puts out. Another thing is social media marketing, because I really hate social media marketing. I don't know about you guys, but I just can't stand going on there, and you've got to post to Twitter, and you got to post to LinkedIn, you got to post to Facebook and Instagram, and I don't even know if anyone's actually looking at it. So actually I do all that through HubSpot now. I put it on a calendar, and just one day a month I will actually just set up the whole month of social media posts and just send them out.
Yeah, Hootsuite. Have you used Hootsuite?
And HubSpot tracks.
Yeah, it's very similar to Hootsuite. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the beauty, is because
What was the name of that product again, Dan?
Hootsuite, Hoot Suite.
Okay.
So the thing is, it becomes a task, right? So it's just additional thing that's on your plate, because it's not just sending it, it's creating that content. Now, thankfully for for us with MSP360, there is a lot of stuff available. But the key here is just, if you use some kind of automation, it's going to be done, you can plan it ahead. And, just like in anything in managed services, why do something manually when it can be done in an automated fashion? Save yourself time, and it just works like clockwork. And then you would never get out of that rut of, oops, I didn't send it this week, I'll get to it next week. Next week becomes the week after, and so on.
Right. And you can have a whole week like really good at posting, and then the next week, the week after, you don't post anything, and it kind of just dies.
Yeah.
And no one wants to think about that anyway. Usually when I create a post, I just say, post to all 4 of these social medias, done. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to look at it.
Exactly.
So what do you think the consistency is important in your posts to keep traffic going there?
I do, and I don't.
As much as you might despise social media.
I do and I don't. And I think, speaking of thought leadership from earlier, I did a webinar on thought leadership, and the woman was talking about exactly that. Like what do you post to? How often do you post? And she actually made a good point is if you find something that's working for you, like one social media platform that's really working for you, and you can find that, you know, in your analytics tools, stick with that. I mean, you can still post to the others, but kind of hone in on that one that's really converting or really bringing you new leads. And, you know, you'll do a lot better than kind of putting all your eggs in different baskets, I guess.
And Nina, one
So
of the things that you said,
what do you think it would be like for an MSP without some kind of marketing automation? Is it near impossible? Unless you're targeting a small number of customers. I mean, it sounds to me like it would be pretty overwhelming.
I would
And
say,
you know, we're not a marketing automation company. We use marketing automation, so it just
right.
seems like it would be hard.
I mean, if you had like a very extensive marketing team, I mean, I think that they would still use automation, but maybe they could do it without, maybe. But I know a lot of MSPs that, you know, maybe people watching this, we're not, you know, we don't have a lot of money to spend on a big marketing team. You know, we like, I think I mentioned to you before, we kind of, you know, we all do a little bit of everything here. So, you know, I make the website, I do the email marketing, I do social media posts, I do software development. So it's kind of a bit of everything at the moment. And if I didn't
Well,
have automation, it would literally just, I mean, it wouldn't be happening.
and the thing is, automation is not as expensive as hiring full-time employees.
Yeah,
Most likely,
exactly.
I would imagine, right? So,
Right.
you know, you don't buy a new car and then never change the oil just because you don't want to spend $70 every 5,000 miles for synthetic, right? You do what you
Right.
need to do to make that car ownership successful. And if you're going to do your marketing, you can choose to leave out some of the important parts like marketing automation, but you may find that you know you're putting good money after bad if you can't really understand what customers are interested in, how they're following up, and getting all of those prospects into the sales funnel, that sales
Right.
pipeline, so you can work them.
I mean, and for you, for your knowledge as well, like you said, just to know what's going on. So even if, you know, you started getting more clients, you were able to hire people, at least you know what works for your business, you know? So if you're a smaller MSP or a startup, I mean, it's a great way to kind of hone in on what works and what doesn't work.
So I don't have a list. I know Dan mentioned Hootsuite. I know you're using HubSpot. There are likely many other players in there. I'm sure you could just Google it. I don't have any resources in this webinar, but look around. My guess is that there are options out there that are priced, differently than the bigger players and maybe more appropriate for your MSP depending on your size.
Mhm.
All right, so I apologize for not having a slide for that. I honestly don't know what happened to it. Um, I'm guessing maybe I didn't have it because I see the numbers on all the slides look right. So maybe I thought I created a slide for it, but I didn't. All right, I just kind of want to wrap up on the marketing content before I walk you through, kind of what we do at MSP360 and provide some links to County Micro in case you want to see, what Nina and her company does, about the MSP's website. So your website is extremely important. It's not only used by prospects, it's going to be used by your customers as well as new recruits. If you're looking to hire somebody, when you're looking for a job, one of the first things you do is go to the website of the company you're thinking about working for. And a website that doesn't have responsive design because it's not rendering right on, say, a mobile device, or is too slow, is not only going to turn off, possible, new hires, but also your prospects and maybe even your customers. So make it fast, use responsive design. Nina and I have talked about this previously. Avoid technical jargon.
Yeah.
You are smart. You are very technical. I am technical. I know when I talk to my friends about things I don't think are that technical, home routers, eyes glaze over. They think I'm speaking in beeps and pings and they don't understand a word I'm saying.
Yeah. It doesn't
It's
make
the
you
same
look
thing with your
cool.
customers. What
Yeah,
was
so
that?
it doesn't make you look cool. People just don't listen.
It does not make me look cool. I mean, if you ask my mother what I do for a living, she will tell all her friends, my son is in computers.
Yeah.
That's it.
there That's it. My mom does that
That's
too.
what my mom says. She always asks me what I do, and I tell her every single time. And the end result of that is my son's in computers because that's what she understands. It's the same thing with your target audience.
Hmm.
You speak the language that they understand, right? You don't talk about, maybe you don't mention ransomware and malware and all these words that are going to, maybe not ring a bell to them at all. You talk about security and protecting your environment and making sure, things are, your patient data is protected and the things that make sense to them, depending on what kind of market they're in. So avoid that technical jargon. Make sure you have an easy to reach contact page, whether that's for, quick support. You can see I did a little screenshot of County Micro. You can see they have, how can I help you at the bottom? That's the bot that probably turns into a person, depending on which way you go through, the chat bot,
That one actually
sequence.
comes from HubSpot, that little bot. So you can actually make that
Okay,
HubSpot form. And
that's
that
nice.
one, if you click on him and you don't want to talk to anyone, he'll actually give you a free coffee mug. But no one, it's a little Easter egg in the site. So
Oh,
You
sweet.
know everybody's going to want a free coffee mug
I
now.
know now we're gonna get all of them coming in.
Yeah.
And by free coffee mug, you mean a digital image
Yes.
of a coffee mug
Yeah,
that you could
Yeah.
buy with a non-fungible token if you'd like.
here you go.
Get your Bitcoin ready. We'll be NFTing that mug.
It will be delivered
Digital
to your
mug.
inbox.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Here are a couple things. Oh, yeah, and also make sure it's SEO optimized. We talked about SEO optimization earlier. If the search engines don't understand what your website does, you'll never show up in organic, search results, and that might be really important, especially for something like managed services, where you're going to want to somebody might type it in and see a list of local managed service providers, especially if you're working a local market. So make sure you spend some time on that or have an understanding of how to do that properly.
Something good
Now,
for that is a multi-page generator. So if you make a bunch of landing pages, I think there's some plugins for WordPress if you're using WordPress, but they will actually generate the same page over and over again, but with different information. So you can say, and IT support in where we are, Holton, Maine. And then I can say IT support in Portland, Maine, IT support in Bangor, Maine. And it has different images, different information coming up on each one. So if I have someone actually typing in, managed service or IT support in this area, it'll show up on Google search with that landing page.
okay, that's good to know. So another benefit of using a company I was going to mention like Squarespace and Wix. You mentioned WordPress and the plugins that are available there. There are a lot of great websites out there that can make setting up your own website really easy with predefined templates that allow you to, dial in, just the right information. Not everything has to be very customized. You can see County Micro did it with the superhero they have there. That's great, but obviously doing that, and they probably did it themselves because they do website design. But if you don't have that expertise, there are a lot of great templates out there. For me, on the business side, I care that I can find information quickly. It doesn't matter if, I hate restaurant websites, because traditionally they all use Flash. They never rendered right on my phone. Everyone looks different than the other. And I think restaurateurs have this strange idea that if my restaurant's different, therefore my website is different, should be different. I think for business websites, though, I want to find the information I want. I'm less concerned about, the overall design element of the website than I am being able to find the content I need. Now, these last two things I want to mention are just pet peeves of mine. Not only as just a person who, goes to websites, but also as somebody who works with the MSP community. And I tend to see this quite frequently, unfortunately, which is that I see a lot of websites out there that are completely unfinished. There are a ton of coming soon pages. A lot of websites are not using HTTPS. They're still on HTTP. They don't have a certificate on there. You are an MSP. You are likely selling security services, right? You should have an HTTPS website. You might be hosting it yourself, and that's why you don't have it. This is an opportunity to consider getting a hosting provider or using somebody like, Squarespace, Wix, or WordPress to host your website. Also, check your spelling and grammar. Come across websites all the time that have grammar issues or spelling issues. They can be a big turnoff. They're not major problems, but they're easy to avoid, I would say. And so spend some time on the consistency, making sure that the pages are there, actually have the information that's needed. And anybody that's coming to it, whether it's a prospect, a customer, or maybe a new recruit, can get the information that they need. All right, so do we have any outstanding Q&A? I see and I'm not seeing any, no outstanding questions. Okay, if anybody has any questions, please throw them in the chat or the Q&A. We'll watch both. While that's going on, let me tell you I don't want it to be product focused. I'm going to spend just a minute telling you just about what we do at MSP360. We've been around for a little more than 10 years, and we design backup services from the ground up for the MSP community to make affordable, powerful, and easy to manage. The way we did that was really on the affordability side was rather than providing private cloud storage, which is important to get your backups off site. And by not providing private cloud storage that we have to co-locate or run our own data center and then charge you a lot for, we integrate with all the public cloud storage vendors. So you can see them on the right there, Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Wasabi, Backblaze B2. All the big three have regions all over the world. The smaller companies, Backblaze and Wasabi, are also much lower cost and also have regions multiple in the US. And then also they're in the EU now, where you can buy storage directly from them with your own accounts for $5 to $6 a month with the lower cost vendors. That's about a half a cent per gigabyte for storage. That is very easy for you to monetize when you're building your backup services and you're reselling them to your customers. You may not want to overcharge your customers. You want to make the right margins. With MSP360, you can make really good margins. So. That's on the storage side. We do local backups as well. What do we support? Well, we support Windows. That's both endpoints and servers. We can do file folder as well as full image-based backup. We support Linux and Mac. We do virtual machines, VMware and Hyper-V, so we can do host-level backups on those platforms. We support SQL Server, so we do SQL Server. Full differential and transaction log backups, as well as Exchange and hosted apps, Office 365 and G Suite. You can restore anything, right? We say backup, set it and forget it. We want the restores to be flexible because we don't back up for backup's sake. You back up so you can restore. So you can restore file folders from any type of backup. We can do bare metal restore as well as restore to virtual or the cloud. Everything's centrally administered. Licenses start at only $5 a month. Before discounts. You see all the storage options over there on the right. So if you want to check us out, you can do so on the slide after this. Dan earlier was mentioning some of the material that we made available. We want to give back to the MSP community, and that's what our MSP University is for. You can just go to MSP360.com and then under the, let's see where it is. Under the resources tab, the first link is for MSP Universities. Easy to find. You can see a list of all of the collateral we have available that we made, specifically the MSP business. We have a lot of marketing-focused material out there, social media, how to get started, branding, marketing tools, advertising, templates you can use that you can kind of change and rebrand to help you sell things like Office 365 or backup services or security, whatever you need. It's a good thing to look at. Feel free to hit up the website, download whatever you'd like, and use it however you see fit. So where should you go next? Other than that, we have a new switch campaign that I want to make everybody aware of. If you come over to MSP360 from a competitor, we'll give you 90 days of free licenses, which is great. So help you save money while you transition. If you're not happy or you're looking for another solution out there, come check us out. We do have a deal that we run for all the members of everything MSP. You can hit up that link. I think we give you an extra $100 in free credit on your accounts if you sign up. You can sign up for a free demo or a free trial. We don't need a credit card or anything like that. Free trial. We'll give you a couple terabytes of free sandbox space to play in the cloud. So you don't have to worry if you don't have a cloud storage provider yet. If you're not ready for that, you want to see a demo, I actually do them every Thursday. So I'll be doing one this Thursday. Links are on the landing page if you just scroll to like the middle of the page. But you can also request a private demo from one of our solution architects. They're there to do that for you. We encourage everybody to sign up to see the product before you give it a trial so you understand how it works. We don't want you to be frustrated with not understanding, our design paradigm. So request a demo if you want. We have a remote desktop product. You can check it out. It's managed. I think it's per technician. That's how we charge for it. If you want to see any other webinars we've done, that's on there. If you want to see all the good stuff that Nina talked about, interested in visiting their website, checking out their HIPAA compliance checklist. I provided a few links there. I want to thank Nina for spending her valuable time today to give back to the MSP community. We thank you. We love to have MSPs on our webinars because, we just sell services. So we're not the MSP experts, even though we're in the MSP business. It's always helpful to hear from a fellow MSP. So thanks, Nina, for coming today.
Thank you.
And I do want to mention in the Q&A or the chat session, someone is asking if there's going to be a recording, and that will be going out later tonight or tomorrow morning. So everybody that's registered for today's event will get the recording of that. And so that, just FYI on that. It doesn't look like let me double check. There might be one.
I think there's one more.
Yeah, there's
one.
Q&A.
Michelle had a question.
Oh, Michelle. Oh yeah, there we go. So leadership is rather adverse to current customers as evangelists, even though we maintain a CSAT score of 98%, which is incredible. Good job, you guys, over 10 years. What's the best practice you'd use in making that a business case?
Well, I can answer from our side, but let me throw it to Nina if she wants to answer that from the MSP side, how that works for County Micro. If you want to comment, if not, I'll just talk.
I would say, honestly, for us, I think the majority of our conversions have come from evangelists. And the thing is, once again, you're building that trust with people. And what better way to build trust with people than people that they already trust, like a friend or a family member or someone that they're already doing business with, So these things, I think that if I was going to drop anything, that would be the last thing I drop from our marketing is our current customers, going out there and selling for us, because it's been working miracles.
Okay, it's good to know. I can tell you on the MSP360 side, we don't use current customers ever without their permission. It's not like we're going to say, hey, this particular huge company is one of our customers, so you should be too. Using existing customers may come through referral options that they have access to and can take advantage if they want for, credit against their account for bringing a customer on, or things like through case studies where we would reach out to the customer and say, hey, we're interested in doing a case study. Would that be something you'd like to do with us? And, we would review the process. They would have final approval on any of the content related to their company, and it would get published and in that way. So nothing is ever done without a customer's consent and really willingness to want to be a part of it. So that's kind of how we do it at MSP360.
Very good. And then let's see, David Scholes. Do
we have an RMM product on the roadmap? I can't say.
You'd have to kill us if you told us.
I don't know. I will say we understand how important RMM products are to the MSP community, and might be a good space to play in someday. But that's all I can say right now. We know it's a tough space to be in. We know there's a lot of great companies out there, but we'll see how things, work out for us.
Excellent. David and Nina, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thanks for coming today. I apologize that I kind of lost the slide in my construction. Again, thank you, Nina, for participating. We loved having you. We may see Nina's a customer.
Yes, I am a customer.
And she's here on her own volition. She was not
Yes.
forced.
Yes,
Yeah, I
exactly.
can be your evangelist.
There you
Yes,
go.
thank you for evangelizing, even
I
though
was
we don't
gonna
really
say
talk
that
much about us.
if anyone wanted to connect on LinkedIn or whatever, just send me a connection request, and we can continue conversation outside of this as well.
Excellent.
Doing that now, Nina.
There you go. He's on the ball. Look at that. He already had LinkedIn pulled up.
Yeah, he was just
He got
waiting
you
for the
all
invitation.
set. Exactly.
I have not asked to be connected to anybody on LinkedIn in years,
Well, I feel very
but
privileged.
I'm going to do it.
All right, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Dan, for hosting this today.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the next one. I hope everybody that came today got some value out of this. I realize I'm not a marketing expert, but I hope it was valuable. If you think we could do it again someday and improve on it, let Dan know. Send him
Definitely.
comments. He'll send them over to me, and we'll try to improve on this next time.
And I did throw in the into the chat. I threw in 2 links. One is to our discussion group. We have that every Wednesday and Friday at 12 noon Eastern time. So basically you can join on to the Zoom meeting, or we also stream live to Facebook. And basically what we do is the group of us, we talk about various things relating to managing and running an MSP. And so a lot of value in that collaboration, like David talked about before. And I will agree with you very strongly, the fact that MSPs are very open in giving people. They want to help for the community, the channel, and help each other out, and that's awesome. And I also included a link to our upcoming events, and so you can always check that out. And we have another event coming up on Thursday, which is regarding remote QBRs that deliver value. So take a look at that. Other than that, you will all receive an email that will be 2 things. One, you'll get an email that's a survey about today's event. Number 2, we will have the email with the recording for you. And from there, we are good to go. So Nina, David, thank you very much for being here today. Everybody on the call, thank you as well. Have an awesome day, and we will see you guys soon. Take care.
Thanks.